Hi and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be recreating this beautiful dress that I saw on TikTok, and stay tuned if you are interested in learning how to make this. I particularly love that it's like a two-in-one dress. So let's get straight into the video. So as usual, we're starting off with everything that I need or we would need for this project and heading straight into cutting. So I have my fabric folded over. You can see this is a folded edge right here, and I have my measuring tape and my ruler. So first thing I'm going to do is to measure the length of the dress. So I'm going for like a midi length, but not too long though. I'd like mine to be slightly shorter than the one in the video. So because this dress has straps, I'm starting at 5 inches, as you can see. So I'm just from that 5 inches to whatever length you desire, and up here I'm just going to mark my shoulder measurement. So shoulder to shoulder divided by 2 and minus 1 inch, and then I'm just marking that, and then I'm just going to come down by about 4 inches. So I have sort of like an L shape at this point, as you can see. So at this point right here, which is where my 4 inches for the armhole ends, I'm going to mark my bust measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch for sewing allowance. So that's what you can see me marking right here. And then I'm going to mark my waistline. So remember, you're starting at 5 inches for the neckline, right? So I'm going to mark where my waistline falls, which is your shoulder to waist measurement, and along that line I'm going to mark my waist divided by 4 inches plus 1 inch for sewing allowance, and then another inch for my darts. So that's going to be plus 2 inches, right? Because there's going to be a dart here, except you don't want to put a dart on your dress, but this is a non-stretchy fabric, so, and it's supposed to be a fitted dress, so a dart would be very necessary. Yeah. Now from that waistline I'm going to come down by 9 inches, and that's where I'm going to mark my hip line. So you can measure the distance between your waist and your hip and then mark that. So this is my hip line, and I'm going to divide my hip measurement by 4 and then add an extra inch for sewing allowance. You can also do 2 inches for your sewing allowance, really, like just as long as you have enough room for your allowance. Now I want sort of like a slightly penciled look, but not too fitted at the bottom. So at this hem here, I just took out 2 inches from what I have on my hip measurement, and that's what I'm marking here, as you can see. And now I'm just going to connect all of these points together. So I'm using my ruler. If you have a longer ruler, that would be a lot more convenient, but this was what I could find at the moment. Yeah, I hope this is clear enough, because I didn't notice that the camera wasn't picking up my chalk markings. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions in the comment section. But yeah, I'm just joining together all these points that we already marked, trying to make my chalk as visible as possible, but clearly that didn't work out too well. I'm so sorry about that. And then right here at the armhole, I'm just going to make it a bit curved because it was sort of like a sharp L, so there was like a corner there, so I'm just going to make it curved. And yeah, now the neckline, I want sort of like a subtle sweetheart neckline, just like a slight curve to the neckline, so it's not just straight. This is a personal preference anyway, you don't have to do this part. So at the center front, I'm just coming down by 1.5 inches, and I'm just going to mark that with my chalk, and then just with my free hand just draw like a curved line right here to give you that slight sweetheart shape, and then I'll use my scissors to cut that, and that's that. And now I'm just going to cut out everything. So we're already done with this part. So this is what we have. You can see the outline. It's looking good so far. And next up, I'm going to cut the back, which is going to be basically the same thing with this, but with with an allowance for the zipper and slit at the back. So I've laid my front piece, as you can see here, on top of my fabric because I'm about to cut the back, and you can see I left out 1.5 inches here for my zipper allowance. So I'm just marking the center back, just basically following the line for my front, and then I use the pin to hold it in place, just so I know how much allowance I'm leaving for the zip. And then at this back here, I also want the back of the dress, the neck at the back, to sort of come down a bit, so I'll get to that. But first off, I'm just going to trace my front piece. So like I said, the back piece is basically the same with the front piece, except for the slight difference in the neckline and the zipper / slit allowance. So at the waistline, I'm coming in by 1/2 inch on that zipper allowance. And yeah, I'm just going to just around that waistline area, as you can see here, and then I'm just going to cut that out. So you can see it just cinches it in a bit more at the waist, and then about 6 inches down from that hip line, as you can see me marking here. Just going to mark that first of all, and then I'm going to cut out 1/2 inch and ease it out just like this, sort of like what we did at the waist. And then I'm just going to open up the other parts. This is just so it lays perfectly on my back. And now for that neckline, I'm going to come down by 2 inches, and I'm just going to mark that with my chalk, and then just create a curved line like this for my back neckline. And then here is what the dress looks like. We have the front and the back pieces, and they're looking good. So this is the armhole, and yeah. So now I'm cutting the straps, the 2 straps for the sleeves. So I folded over this fabric here, and I'm just going to first of all trim this excess off, this white edge. And next up, I'm going to get straight into actually cutting the straps. So I want them to be about 2 inches thick. So I'm just going to mark 2 inches all the way down, as you can see, and I'm just going to cut that out. And there we have it, 2 straps. And these are each about 18 inches, which is a bit too long, but that's fine. So here is my front piece. I'm about to cut the lining. So I've laid it on the folded edge of my lining, and I'm basically going to trace out the same thing after using my pins to hold everything in place. So I'm just going to cut the exact same thing out of my lining as well. Just follow the outline of my front piece already. And then do the same thing for the back as well. And here's what we have: the 2 pieces, front and back, the lining and the straps. So yeah, this is the front, that's the back. You can see the neckline, the slight difference in the neckline. So we're good to go. So now for the hem, I made the lining piece about 1.5 inches shorter than the Ankara piece because I want to do a blind hem. So this is basically what it's going to look like. You won't see like the hemming stitch. Alright, so here I have my soft net, and I have 4 layers of it because I want to cut this is a folded edge. I want to cut both the front and the back pieces together. So this right here, this upper area is going to be the shoulder. So first off, I'm marking the length that I want my dress to be, this outer layer to be. This is a bit tricky because you can't see the chalk markings on the soft net, but I'm going to do my best to explain properly. So what I'm just marking is the length, and then next up, my shoulder measurement divided by 2 inches. Just marking that at different points. Just trying to make sure everything is even as well. Cutting soft net can be a bit tricky. If possible, you can make patterns that you can use instead to cut it, instead of like trying to mark on it. So I'm marking my neck. I've marked the width and the depth of the neck. I'm using 4 inches. So I'm just marking that, and it's going to be like a quarter of a circle. Then at the shoulder area, I'm going to come down by 1 inch as usual to get that shoulder slope. Okay, so I'm just going to draw my slanted shoulder as best as I can. And then this is my sleeve, like my armhole. It's 8 inches, and that's just what I'm marking. And so on that line where I marked my armhole, I'm going to divide my hip measurement by 4, and then I'm going to add like a few inches of allowance. I think I added about 2 inches of allowance because it's just like a really loose dress. And then from that point, it's going to be like an A-line sort of situation. So I'm just like, as you can see, sort of using my tape as like a ruler to spread it out as it gets to the hem of the dress. So next up is, okay, yeah, and then the neck, the back neck is higher than the front. So while the front neck is 4 by 4 inches, the back neck is about 1.5 inches deep. So I'm just going to cut, and then just following my tape, sort of like a guide, and just cutting that A-line shape all the way down. And here's what we have. So for the neck, as you can see, this neck is sort of shallow. This is the back, and I have my 2 layers here. So I'm just going to open it up so I can remove the piece that's going to be the back piece, and then I can deepen the neck for the front of this dress. So I'm just going to deepen this layer. This is going to be the front. That's basically the difference between the front and the back for this outer layer of the dress. So just setting everything back in place, and here's what we have. So you can see that A-line, and you can see our neckline, our armhole. Everything looks good. So straight into the sleeve. So I folded over this soft net, and here is my folded edge. So I'm just going to mark the length of my sleeves. So I'm marking the length of my sleeves minus 6 inches because remember there's going to be that Ankara piece at the base of the sleeves. So I'm just marking that at different points like so, and then I'm just going to draw like a curved shape like this, starting from that point. So it sort of goes down, so you can see the shape that, yeah, this is where the sleeve meets the armhole. And then I'm just going to measure to see if like, and then I'm going to stop, like mark here right where my armhole measurement stops. So like I measured my armhole, and that's the measurement that I marked here. And then I'm marking 12 inches because that's how wide I want my sleeves to be. You can go wider or less wide, but I'm just going to connect these points together, and that's basically the sleeve. So I'm just using pins to hold everything in place because this soft net is really tricky. So yeah, and there you have it. So I'm going to cut a second one, and we'll basically be done with the net. Now for that Ankara piece, which is at the edge of the sleeve, I have this piece of Ankara folded over here, and this is the part that is going to join to the base of the sleeve to add the rest of the length to it. So I'm measuring what I have here, and I have about 9 inches, which works for me. So I'm just measuring what I have here as well. That's about 13 inches. And so that times 2, because it's folded over twice, that's going to be about 26 inches. So I'm just going to make sure I have up to 26 inches here. And I added an extra inch just to be safe. And so I'm marking my 27 inches. And then I'm just going to get an even straight line at the top as well. So I'm marking 8 inches. So it's going to be 8 inches wide. So you can see me marking here. And then I'm just going to cut all that out. Remember, this is folded over, right? So you can see that this piece that I just cut out is folded over. Yeah, and this is what the sleeve is going to be like. It's already looking so good. I'm excited for this dress. So I'm going to cut a second one of this. And then after that, this is for the piece of Ankara that is going to be at the hem of the dress as well. So I folded over my Ankara, as you can see here, and I measured what I had around the base of my Ankara as well. And then this one, I'm going to make it 10 inches wide. So I'm just going to mark that and cut it out basically. Now for our straps, this is the first piece I'm going to sew, and I'm basically going to fold it over, right? Fold it over like 4 times, as you can see me demonstrating here, sort of like how your bias tape is folded. And then I'm going to run a straight stitch just to hold everything in place. And then always remember to press your pieces. So after doing that, I'm going to press it and the straps will basically be ready. So let's go. And this is what the straps look like. So you can see I've sewn them, and then I also pressed them as well. So now this is the front piece of our dress. This is the neckline, as you can see, and this is the front side, the right side of the fabric, you can see here. So I've placed my strap right here at the edge, leaving out 1/2 inch at the corner, as you can see there, and then I'm sandwiching the strap in between the Ankara fabric and the lining. I'm going to do this for both straps, and I'm going to sew the neckline to hold them in place basically, and also sew the armhole as well as the hem. So for the hem, I'm just going to hold the lining piece and the Ankara piece together with a straight stitch, and yeah. So I'm also going to sew the armhole as well. So the neckline, the armhole, and the hem. And here's what it looks like. So as you can see, I've done the straps, I've attached them, done the hem as well as the hem of the back and the armhole and neckline. So now on the straps, I'm going to mark 10 inches, which is the strap length for me. And at that 10-inch mark, I'm going to connect it to this part of the back of my dress, and then do the armhole and neckline as well as this back area, which is like the zip side. So I'm going to do that for both back pieces, and I'll be back to show you. And here's what our dress looks like. Now it looks like an actual dress. You can see I've done the neckline, connected the straps, and you can see how the back neckline is slightly lower than the front. So here is where my zip is going to be. The armhole is finished. Yeah, it's looking good. So I'm going to join the sides together and also attach the zip at the back. But then before that, let me just show you, I also have darts, as I mentioned earlier. If you need a tutorial for how to do the darts, I would reference one of my dress tutorials in the description box. So this is where the zip is going to be. There's going to be a slit at the back as well, and here is what the dress looks like. So I'm basically done with this inner dress. So here's the slit. You can make yours as long or as short as you like. So yeah, and then I also have my zip inserted already. Now moving on to this part, you can see I've already used my bias tape on the neck, and I've joined the shoulders together. Here is the base, that's the sleeve, those are the places for the sleeves. And basically there's going to be a lot of ironing here, basically pressing like all of the Ankara pieces. But to join this part with the base of the dress, I'm basically going to fold it in like this, as you can see me demonstrating here, all the way around, and then press that. And I would then sandwich my soft net right here, like in between, like this, and then just run a straight stitch through it. So having already pressed it, it will be so easy to sew. So here's everything assembled. I haven't sewn them yet, but this is sort of what it would look like. That's the sleeve, that's the armhole, the dress, the hem. Everything is looking good, so I'm just going to get straight into pressing and sewing currently. I already did the shoulder and finished the neckline with my bias tape. So yeah. So for that base that I was talking about, look at it, I already pressed. So you can see I pressed in like half an inch down here, and my soft net is already sandwiched in there. So I'm just going to make sure it's all secure and then run a straight stitch. So you can see the soft net in between. Then just run a straight stitch all the way from start to finish. And this is what it should look like. So with that, my soft net is secure in between my Ankara, and it's already taking shape. I'm really excited. I've done the same thing for my sleeves as well, and I'm just going to sew the sides, join the sleeves together, and attach the sleeves to the body of the dress, and it's basically finished, guys.